Hello, hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 10 of the Woolong Talks podcast. My name is Jason, and as usual, I'm joined by my two cohorts, my two partners in crime, Alvin and Richard. Big A, say what's up, man.
Evening, peeps.
And Richard, say what's up.
Hey, what's up? What's happening, people?
Cool, cool. We were hoping to have a special guest with us today on the podcast, but unfortunately, she couldn't make it. These things happen sometimes, so hopefully we'll be able to reschedule and get her back in on the show because she's a really, really interesting guest, and there's a lot of things that she could share with us as well. So we'll soldier on without her. But yeah, we're on episode 10, which is kind of monumentous for us, man. Like we've kind of hit a mini landmark. It kind of dawned on me today. So, I mean, I don't know, is 10 a landmark, or does that count as a landmark? I don't know. What do you think?
I reckon it is. You know what it is? I'd break it down to the specific number. So let's say if it was like 1 month. Let's say if it was a thing of like for a year. If it was like if for each podcast that we did, if that was for a month, then we could have a baby could have been born. Yeah. So now basically our baby is like 1 month old. So I put it down to that. If this was a Netflix show, we becoming like rounding shit off now. So what's his name's been taken out. If this was Luke Cage, Cottonmouth has been taken out.
Spoiler.
Yeah, Cottonmouth has been taken out. Shades is still slick as shit. So we've been rounding shit up. Like, so yeah, man, 10 is a monumental mark. It's the number after 9 where you become double figures.
Well, yeah, since you put it like that, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, no, I was thinking like, that's pretty cool, man. We've been doing this for a little while and we've been enjoying it, and hopefully you people who are listening or watching have been enjoying it too. Yeah, it feels like we've come away, it really does. I was actually having a look at like some of the numbers and things like that for how we've been doing. And in particular, I had a look at our SoundCloud account. Now, if you don't know, we do everything on SoundCloud as well as on YouTube, so you can actually listen to audio broadcasts on SoundCloud when you're ready. They're all accessible on our SoundCloud page. You just need to go to Woolong Talks on SoundCloud. You'll find all of our podcasts there. But yeah, I was having a look, and yeah, we've done all right. We've had, in the last month, we've had like 319 plays in total on the podcast that we've done. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, we've got like people who are listening and following from all over the world, which is just crazy, man. Like it shows you the power of the internet, Our top plays so far are coming from America, so if you're listening to us in America, what's up? Thank you very much for the love and the support. Please keep following us out. We've had 103 plays in total from American visitors. The UK is lagging way behind. UK, you're letting us down big time. UK, we've had only 23. Now you need to do better than that, UK. Like, because we rep the UK, so come on, we need to show these Americans what we're about. So pick up the pace, please. But we've got like some quite diverse countries on the list as well, which is interesting. Now, I mean, you've got to take these countries with a pinch of salt because who knows what dodgy people are out there using VPNs and proxies and all of that kind of stuff to hide their tracks. Listen, we ain't trying to put you people on blast, by the way. Like, you do you, as long as you ain't hurting nobody, you do you. But, yeah, it's just interesting to see, like, the kind of diverse countries we've had. We've had listeners from South Africa. We've had 5 plays from South Africa. We've had 3 from South Korea, 2 from Jamaica, 2 from Pakistan, 4 from Saudi Arabia. Like, yo, I don't even know how that's possible, because I swear down Saudi Arabia is like one of the most repressive regimes on the planet, so I don't even know how you're doing that, but if you're listening to us from Saudi Arabia, big up, man. We've had people from Trinidad and Tobago, the Cayman Islands, Taiwan, the Bahamas, Qatar, and Malaysia, as well as many, many others. Zimbabwe as well, we've had on there twice. So, yeah, it seems like we're kind of making an impact, man. People are feeling the Woolong Talks love out there in the world, which is great to see. So please keep it going. And I said thank you for all of you who have listened to all of our podcasts and chat to us on Twitter and interact with us on Instagram and everywhere else. We love having that kind of thing that that brings us all together. You know, we love having that kind of conversation with you. We love chatting about movies and comics and all of those good things. And I guess you do too. So please keep having that conversation with us, man. Now, for today, we're actually going to do a Halloween special as Halloween is just around the corner. I don't know. I wanted to ask you guys this. Does it seem to you like all of a sudden Halloween has kind of become a big thing, or is it just me?
No, it has.
Yeah, it has, yeah.
It has, yeah. Like I've noticed it in the past few years. It definitely has become more of a thing. But in saying that, maybe it's just that we're older. Like me, I'll tell you straight up and down now. I came from an African household that was, quite religious. So, hey, can I get dressed up as like something like a demon and go knock on strangers' doors and take food? And my dad gave me a look. I was like, oh, listen, you better go upstairs and go read some books. Like, so I've come from that type of thing, but I can definitely see that that Halloween has become more of is it a public holiday, national holiday? It's become more of something that's a lot more celebrated now in the UK.
I mean, for those of you listed in America, you probably are all baffled by this because you've been doing this since, how long. But for us in the UK, I mean, certainly for me, growing up, Halloween was not really a thing that anybody looked at all. I mean, coming from a Caribbean background, it was very similar to yours in terms of having very, very Christian parents who didn't understand the appeal of this pagan holiday. Like, as far as they were concerned, it was all paganism, and paganism is second to the devil. So you why are you even interested in it for? So that was their kind of take on those things. But yeah, it definitely seems like it's becoming a more prominent thing. Alvin, did you get to trick or treat and things like that when you were younger?
Nah, I didn't do none of that stuff, man. Halloween was just another day. It was, I mean, you'd get a few people trying to do it, but back in the day, man, it was just like, it wasn't really that much of a thing. Yeah, it's kind of like with the internet and the growth of it, it's kind of become kind of more popular, obviously, from us seeing the States. You know what I mean? And seeing how they do it. And they do it really big, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's kind of trickled down into us a little bit. But luckily, I don't live in a house. I live in an apartment complex. So hopefully no one's going to be knocking on my door.
No, they'll be coming, man. They'll be coming. I live in an apartment block as well. They'll be coming. You're going to be waiting with the pellet gun behind the door.
It's not getting answered, man. It's not getting answered. I'm just going to answer that phone and be like, yo, F off, man. Ain't got no sweets.
I think
they're going to trick your fucking house then.
They can't trick my apartment. I'm protected. It's fucking gated, isn't it?
I tell you, one of these years, man, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a goat from the local city farm, bring it up, and then I'm gonna shave my chest and put a star on my chest. Get 2 horns, and then when they knock on the door, I'm gonna open the door and be like, "Yes, come, you've come just in time for the sacrifice. You will go nicely with the goat. Come." One of these days, man, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Well, listeners, as it's Halloween, we decided we're going to give this a Halloween type theme. So we were going to kind of have a chat and talk about the kind of movies, the comics, the video games and books and things like that we enjoyed. That are all horror related and related to things around this time of year. Hopefully we won't be scaring any of you or any of us by the time we've come up with some recommendations. But if you're into that kind of thing, hopefully we'll point out a few things as well that maybe you can go and have a look at and have a read of and enjoy it. So, well, we may as well get down to it, really, lads. Before we begin, I mean, we obviously should talk a little bit about the monumentous events of Monday evening. But for those that don't know what I'm talking about, I'm referring to The Walking Dead, the season premiere, the season 7 premiere, which after, God, how many months was it? Has it been 6 months?
Something like 6 or 8.
It's been about 6 months, hasn't it? Yes, it's the last.
6, yeah.
Yeah, since the season break, so. Yeah, so anyway, it's been about 6 months since they left the audience dangling, although they weren't really leaving the audience dangling, because if you had half a brain cell in your head, you knew exactly who was going to die anyway. But yeah, basically, we had our scene where Negan introduced Lucille to the heads of Abraham and Glenn Rhee, and they are no longer with us in the show terms. I've had like my rants about this already, so I'm not going to rant about it. So instead, I know both of you have seen this episode now. So, well, we'll start with you, Alvin, because you're the biggest Walking Dead fan out of the three of us. What did you make of it? Did the scene kind of work for you, and did the episode work as a whole? And has it got you looking forward to the rest of the season?
Well, when it when they did that whole tease at the end of last season, I was speaking to a friend of mine and I actually guessed one of them. I didn't think there'd be a second one, so I was like, look, it's going to either be Sasha or Abraham, because Abraham is stubborn as fuck. You know what I mean? If he gets like whacked in the face, he's going to come back up because that's what he's like. And so when that happened, I was like, cool, all right, done. But then fucking after Daryl punched Negan in the face, and Negan was saying what he was saying about, you only get one and all this kind of business. When he whacked Glenn on the head, I was fucking, I could not believe it. Like I was literally shocked. Like I was like, oh no, but he's okay though. And then obviously he lifted his head up and his eye was popping out and all that shit. And his head was all concave. And I was like, fuck, he's fucking gone. He's gonna fucking die. But in my head, I was still going, oh, he could still maybe live though. And then, nah, it just wasn't gonna happen. But I thought they did it pretty well, man. I kind of like, I didn't know that's what happened in the comics. I'm surprised I managed to avoid that spoiler for so freaking long. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, for me it worked. I liked what they did. The Glenn bit for me was unexpected, and it just they've literally, Rick has had his balls cut off. You know what I mean? He's just been ruled by Negan straight away. He's been schooled by him, and this whole scenario, and it's all fucked up. And I don't know where they can go from here, but I'll be happy to find out.
Yeah, for me it was. I mean, as I said, I'm not going to go on about it because I've made my feelings quite clear on The Walking Dead. But I did have to, take my hat off to the team and the way that they framed the death scenes and the way they were staged and the special effects and everything. It was very much done in the spirit of the original comic. So, it was almost note for note the way that they did it. So, on that level, it worked really well for me. It did. But yeah, like Glenn dying was no surprise for me at all. And I kind of guessed that it was going to be Abraham who was going to get it as well, because it just seemed pretty obvious to me out of everybody that was there. Even though they should have killed Daryl, yes, I'm saying that. They should have killed Daryl. Daryl should have been dead a long time ago in this show. Yeah. I've just pissed off about 50% of the people who are listening to this now. You know what? I don't care. But yeah. I mean, it worked pretty well. Rich, what did you think?
I mean, I guess both of them, to tell the truth. Like literally, I think it was on Monday during the day at work. I was chatting with a guy who I work with called Daniel, or Dan. And basically, I broke it down to this thing of that the first person who I thought definitely would have got it was Abraham, and I just broke it down to logistics of like, if somebody's gonna die in the show, like you said, we know Daryl's not gonna go, we know Michonne's not gonna go, we know Rick's not gonna go, we know Carl's not gonna go, and if they're gonna look at it from the point of view of, let's say, how Negan has been operating, even though we hadn't seen him up until his reveal at the end of the last season, he's very, very calculated. So to me, I can only assume that when he looked at somebody like Abraham, he probably said that, well, listen, Abraham's the kind of person who's probably going to be a threat. So I reckon that's one of the reasons why he took him out anyway. Like you said, like Abraham is as stubborn as fuck, and it's not as if he looks stupid. He looks like he's got some. Abraham's got military training, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So to me, it just made sense to take him out anyway. Somebody like Daryl, the reason why, spoiler, why I can imagine why he's taken somebody like Daryl is because Daryl is the next person closest to Rick, who, you know what, if you can fucking, skin their balls or castrate them, that person will work for you and will be fucking loyal. So that's how I see his brain working. Glenn, I didn't know that he gets taken out in a comic book. But I just thought to myself, well, listen, like it'd be good to take it. I said it'd be good to take him out. But if they do take him out, it will make his survival in whatever season it was where he managed to hide underneath that dumpster. It will make it null and void. So
Yeah, that's what I thought actually, because it was
I-
it was the previous season, season 6 when that happened.
like to me, like when they killed off Glenn in this, like in this episode, it was the equivalent of like for you old school heads who are listening, there used to be a famous show called Dallas. They tried to bring it back quite a few years ago, and there's an episode where Bobby Ewing gets killed, and I think he dies for like a whole season, and then at the end of the season, you find out
it's a dream.
so to me, it was like everything just became null and void. I know that they do like an alternate killing with was it with Maggie? Yeah, like to me personally, I think the thing about the Walking Dead show now, and this is something that we've said before, like it's become sort of like routine, so it's become a bit lazy. I think they should have killed Maggie. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to sound like like I hate women or stuff like that, but of course they basically kill her and then basically tell Negan that that she's pregnant, just so like you could, like, to me it would have made the act that a little bit more evil, and made everyone else feel like, okay, listen, this guy really needs to get fucking taken out. And I think her death would have been a lot more hard hitting than, let's say, than Glenn's death. But the episode itself was filmed quite well and things like that. So yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. I can't lie.
Cool. I just say, look, bring on the March to War, man. That's all I've been waiting for. Just bring it on. Bring on Ezekiel. Bring on Shiva. Bring on the March to War. Bring on the Whisperers, and then maybe I'll be interested. Until then, leave me alone, man. And I say that whilst I'm still looking up when the next episode is going to be on. Yeah, there you go. I'm full of contradictions, people. You'll learn that. You'll learn. Okay, man. Well, I think that was about the only kind of horror-related piece of news that I can think of from this week, unless you two can think of anything.
No, not horror-based, no.
Yeah.
No, not really.
Yeah, no, there wasn't really anything, really, was there? So, all right, well, let's crack on, man. Okay, so as I said, we're going to get to the point now where we're going to have a bit of a chat about some of the movies, the comics, books, and video games that we love that are horror themed or have scary themes and things like that. Yeah, and basically, I mean, I kind of struggled a little bit with this when it came to the part where we were talking about comics and TV, and I kind of had this whole existential crisis where I was like, am I not scared of things anymore? And then, like, I thought about it and I thought, no, I am definitely still scared of stuff. It's just that, like, to me, it's hard to track down things that are really kind of, that really creep me out on that kind of level, things that really make my skin crawl. Because I'm somebody who, I need to feel the fear in a very visceral way. I need to feel it like this is happening to me right now, not to the person that I'm watching or to the thing that I'm engaging with. And it's hard for me to find things that really do that and really make my skin crawl. There's lots of like well-made horror movies, for example, out there, but there was very few that actually made it to my list that I could say, yeah, was something that actually kind of bothered me to the point where, I couldn't sleep or I felt uncomfortable while I was watching it and things like that. So yeah, it was kind of tough, man. But we'll start off anyway. Alvin, did you have like a film or something like that you could recommend for people, or what was it that kind of scared you? What kind of movies scared you when you were growing up and today, I guess?
Well, see, I don't watch that many horror movies, right? I don't know why. It's just never really been like my thing, I suppose. But I think the last horror movie I actually went to see was Drag Me to Hell. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, I remember that.
Drag Me to Hell.
Was it Sam Raimi or did he produce it?
Yeah, it was Sam Raimi, yeah. And the only reason why is because it was full of jump scares, but really good, funny jump scares where it scared you and you started laughing because it was funny that you shot yourself over this crazy but funny kind of horror film. But I just had a thought as well, actually. Does Final Destination count?
Yeah.
Yeah, then all of the Final Destinations apart from the last one I've not seen. But yeah, I've really enjoyed like any of the. I think the best Final Destinations are 1, 3. Yeah, 1 and 3 are the best ones.
Yeah.
And 1, 3, 2, 4, and then 5,
Okay.
and then the 6th one I've not seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, any of the Final Destinations, give those a go. But 3 and 1 are the best ones out of all of them.
Yeah, I think the first one I remember. I remember the first Final Destination, and I remember that being. But again, I don't know if it scared me, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed some of like the death scenes and stuff, like the girl getting run over by the bus. That was just hilarious to me, like absolutely hilarious. I don't know why, but maybe I'm twisted, but I just found that like unbelievably funny. But one I enjoyed, and then I remember seeing which one was the one with the roller coaster. Was that number 5?
3.
That number
No, it's
3.
3.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. I just remember the 2 girls getting trapped in the tanning booth.
The tanning.
Whilst the radio was playing Roller Coaster of Love. Like, again, that just made me laugh like so much. It did not scare me at all. I was just like, this is hilarious. And all these people in the cinema was like screaming. And then I remember I'd gone with a date to go and watch it, and the date kind of looked at me like, what the fuck is wrong with you, kind of thing. I was just like, this is so funny. She was like, what? They're dying in there. So yeah, for me, for me, number 3 was a lot of fun. Yeah, I enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, I don't know about Final Destination. Yeah, it didn't really scare me. Rich, anything that comes to mind for you?
Yeah. Electra. That was just pretty scary because it was so shit. Like that. The Final Destination films, like to me, they weren't scary. Like,
But the concept, though.
but even the concept.
That concept is scary to me, man.
No,
Come on, now when I get on a plane, it's all fucked up, man. That's all I can think about.
See, that doesn't really get to me. Like, I don't know. It never, like, the idea was a good idea. I always thought for a good film, but scary, nah. Like, it just didn't do it for me. I think the last scary film I actually watched in a cinema was the first Paranormal Activity. And listen, that shit. Like, I'm one of those guys. Like, when you were saying that you didn't really find anything. That really made you scared. Like, I can't think of anything that would make me scared because I'm like that. I don't go looking for shit that would scare the shit out of me. Yeah, like, hey, let me watch this and not sleep for 2 days. No, I can't live that life anymore. But Paranormal Activity, that was the last one that I saw, and I thought that it was this generation's Blair Witch Project, but probably done even better. And that really really scared me. What else? I'd probably say that's the last film that I saw. There's a few films that I always do go back to and watch every so often, even though it will give me like night terrors. And I call it night terrors because I literally woke up like a 3-year-old. Yeah, I just screamed my head off. But the first, I've written a post about it, which is going to be posted on Monday. So the first Halloween, I think, is an amazing horror film. The first Halloween, and there's another film which is a good film, but it's considered more of a cult classic because not everybody's seen it. But the very first Phantasm, that's another amazing horror film, man. Like, the lighting on that, the story behind it, the villain behind it, who's an evil supernatural villain who's never really been given the ratings that he deserves, is a guy called the Tall Man. Shit, like, those 2 films scared the shit out of me. I kid you not, man. Like, even Halloween, when I was writing the post for Halloween and I was upstairs by myself, yeah, I was a bit scared. I started getting into that. And I was writing about Michael Myers, and I was like, "Hey, listen, now this is the reason why I get scared of this. Let me just calm it down a bit. Let me put some cartoons on and take a breather." But those 3, or those 2, yeah, those 3, those things really really scared life out of me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't think I've seen anything recently that has really scared me that much. I saw The Purge in the cinema and was kind of bored by it, to be honest. It didn't really do much for me. Annabelle, I saw, and that didn't really do much for me either. Yeah, like there's nothing really that I can think of American in recent years that really kind of scared me, that got underneath my skin, you know. I'd have to go back quite a few years, but I think the early kind of things that scared me was the first Nightmare on Elm Street
Yeah,
was one that really got to, like, because this idea that this person could get to you in your dreams,
Yeah, that's fucked
in a
up, innit?
place where where you always feel like, you know, that's visceral, because everybody feels, even when you're having a nightmare, you know, there's a part of your brain that's aware that you are having a nightmare, and that's kind of what ultimately wakes you up, is the fact that, you know, your brain says, hey, don't worry, look, this is just a dream, and you get up from it. Whereas with Nightmare on Elm Street, it was, you know, you had your dreams were not safe. You were not safe in your sleep, like the one place where you think you would be safe. So that really kind of like got to me. That really scared me. Freddy Krueger was you know, the just one of the worst creations, one of the best worst creations for cinema, really, because he just, as I said, he kind of terrifies you on that deep subconscious level. So yeah, that was a really scary film for me growing up. Candyman was another one. I I have to tell you that I blatantly, as soon as I watched that film, I went into the mirror and said Candyman 3 times in the mirror,
Yeah,
just
you're
to see if
crazy,
it
man.
was true. Yeah.
I wouldn't even do that now as an adult. Forget it.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like the third Candyman, I basically mouthed it. I didn't even say the words. I was like, "Could be wrong," on the side of my mouth, because I did not want Candyman to come and take me. But that really bothered me as well, because of again, because of the story, really, because of it seemed like it could be plausible, you know, in an odd way, because this idea that this man was, you know, this slave who'd been tortured and killed and had been resurrected to this vengeful spirit and was coming to, you know, to kill all of these people and drag them to hell. It was that was like, wow, that bothered me. That bothered me, especially because of you know, growing up in the household I did, and coming from the background I had. You know, for those that don't know, my folks are from the Caribbean. You hear a lot of different stories about different kind of Caribbean myths and legends. There's a few that I've actually written about on the blog as well, so you can check those out. But you know, a lot of those stories come from sort of slavery times, and from the kind of things that the you know, the slaves used to believe in, and the kind of stories they used to tell each other. And yeah, Candyman just seemed like so plausible to me, coming from, you know, from that background, from that point of view. So yeah, that was one that absolutely terrified me. Yeah, so Candyman really did it for me. Most recent one was a film that I saw a couple of days ago called Train to Busan, which is a film from South Korea. Now, if you are a horror fan and you're not checking out the stuff from the Far East, I urge you to do it, because believe me, the guys from the Far East, they know how to scare you. They really know how to scare you. But Train to Busan is basically about a man and his estranged daughter and some other passengers who get trapped on a train during a zombie outbreak. And basically they've got to survive somehow on this train, whilst you know, these hordes of zombies and people are constantly getting infected and coming after them, and they've got to find a way to stay alive on this train. And the whole thing is almost entirely shot on the train itself. So along with the kind of, you know, the fear of the undead and these people that eat human flesh and things like that, you've then got the claustrophobia of being trapped on the train, which is really powerful, because that's another thing that kind of gets under my skin, is being kind of trapped in a place where you can't move, and you know, you're limited by space and you can't really go anywhere, where there's no freedom. That kind of plays on you psychologically as well. So that's a film I would definitely recommend to people. I know it's out in UK cinemas at the moment, so if you're listening to us in the UK, go and check out Train to Busan. It's definitely worth it. But yeah, that would probably be the most recent thing that I've seen that kind of got under my skin, really. In terms of like the horror movies, are there any specific like scenes or things like that kind of just bothered you that you can remember? Rich, we'll start with you. Is there any particular scenes from Halloween that really got to you?
yeah. You know what it is? It's basically to tell the truth, any time that he appears on screen, like it generally just puts the the shivers up my spine. I mean the reason that, I mean I didn't go into too much detail, but the reason why I love the Halloween, the first Halloween, the first and the second Halloween, so to speak, is that there was no form of like supernatural element attached to the character. Like, so he generally just could have been that guy, like, and I think that's what makes things, like when you're scared of something that when it's something that can be plausible as well, that's what makes it more scared. So, for example, like Jay, if you're talking about like when you were talking about Freddy Krueger, it wasn't even just the fact that Freddy Krueger was able to get you in the dreams. The main fear for me of watching Nightmare on Elm Street was the whole thing of that at some point you have to sleep. That's the fear. The secondary fear is Freddy Krueger going to get you. The first fear is that you have to sleep and this person's going to get you. So for me, there's a scene in and it's basically the end of Halloween, where he gets into the house and he's after Jamie Lee Curtis, who is one of my first crushes. Love her, I even love her now. But and then they have a bit of a tussle, and then Dr. Loomis comes in and he shoots Michael Myers, and Michael Myers falls over the balcony, and then basically lands on the ground, and you see his body on the ground. So then Dr. Loomis goes to Jamie Lee Curtis and basically sees if she's okay, and then she's like, is he gone? Is he gone? And then basically they go over to the balcony, and he's not there. That, like, even now, that scene, just talking about it, scares the effing life out of me, just for the simple fact of the way how Michael Myers is. He wears the mask, so he generally could be anybody out there. All he needs to do is just put a mask on and just chase after you. And like I said, because there's no form of supernatural link, he could just be one of those big guys. You read stories about big guys on steroids just taking a beating and just coming back for more. Or if you go Raven, or like we used to back in the day, and you see those guys on coke. I've seen guys on coke do madness, fall out of moving cars and get up and carry on like no one's business. So that scene at the end, where they go over to the balcony and he's not there, after this rampage that he's done on just this one night, scares the life out of me. I kid you not.
Yeah, it's very visceral, all of that. I mean, Mike Myers, yeah, the idea that this guy was just unstoppable was kind of, that was kind of freaky for me, I have to admit. I could never reconcile with that, because it's like you can't fight him, you can't do nothing to him, you just gotta run, basically. And it makes me want to play that Friday the 13th game. But we'll get to video games anyway. But yeah, it really makes me want to play that. But Alvin, was there a specific scene from a movie that you could think of that really kind of sticks with you to this day?
Not really sticks with me, but like I was saying, man, with the Final Destination thing, that whole plane sequence, like the getting on the plane and all that, and you see it crash and all this business, and like you see his skin melting on his face and all that. Do travel, even though I don't want it to, and especially when I go on planes, that will always like fuck with my head a little bit. You know what I mean? It doesn't fucking really bother me, but it's just like, fuck, come on, why did I have to think about that now? Because flying's not nice anyway. So, you know what I mean? Thinking that you're going to crash and burn in a fireball isn't going to help.
And that's the thing. So you always have it drummed into your head that flying is statistically the safest way to travel.
Yeah, fuck you, Superman.
So yeah, Supes was lying about that one, man. He was lying. But you constantly have it drummed into your head that flying is so safe. So when a film kind of plays with that idea, then that's bound to kind of shake a few people up. I can understand that. But mind you, I've honestly never ever had any problem with flying. So I don't know. Maybe that's why Final Destination never got to me in that way. But yeah, it's mad when you think about it. But for me, I mean, the scene that bothers me to this day, like, and it's crazy considering when I look back and the amount of horror films I've seen, I realize I've seen a lot of horror films. But the one that kind of bothers me the most, and Richard, you'll know this one because we went to see this together, was The Ring.
Yeah.
Oh, really? The original or the remake?
Both of them.
Both of them, to be honest. Both of them do. Like, they both do. I mean, for those of you who are listening who haven't seen The Ring, you probably would have seen it by now. I mean, it's fairly old. I think it's like 2000. No, the original came out longer than that, didn't it, Rich? Was it like 2001 or something like that it came out?
Yeah, early 2000s. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the Ring, the American version, you'll probably be familiar with. It stars Naomi Watts, but there is an original Japanese film on which that was based, and the concept and the premise are pretty much exactly the same in both movies. The idea that there's this cursed videotape in circulation that, you know, if you watch a tape and then you get a call immediately after, and this terrifying voice says 7 days, and then you've basically got 7 days to either lift the curse from yourself or you die. The climax of that movie is the male character being killed off by Samara, or Sadako as she's known in the Japanese version. And in both versions, it just creeped me out. Like, I watched both of them recently, side by side, because somebody has actually put them up on YouTube and has put them up side by side. And I don't know whether it's... I think it's the concept that something like a television that seems very harmless and could suddenly become this thing that, you know, that brings terror into your life and ultimately kills you, is so kind of visceral for me. And in particular in the Japanese version, what I can't stand, what really like kind of makes me grind my teeth, is the actress. I can't remember the name of her off the top of my head, but I'll put the name in the description box for the video when I remember. But the actress who plays Sadako, when she's coming out of the well and she's walking across the field towards the screen, from the character's point of view, her movements are horrific. Like, she moves like she's got rigor mortis in her body, so she can't like kind of move her, you know, like a normal person who walks. You know, when you watch people, they have a free kind of gait in the way that they walk, and, you know, they swing their arms back and forth and so on. With her, it's like, it literally feels like, you know, this is a corpse coming towards you, because it's every movement is rigid and jagged, and you know, there's a real kind of threatening posture about how she moves, and then when she starts kind of clawing her way out of the screen, it's just horrible. And then one thing that I think they missed a trick on in the American version that they did in the Japanese version was Sadako, when she comes out of the TV, she's got no fingernails. All of her fingernails are gone. And it obviously giving the impression that she's dug her way out of this well and into this guy's living room, and it just looks awful. It looks so like it just made my skin like crawl. It made every hair on my body stand up, and I've got a lot of hair, people, so that's a lot of hair to make stand up. And it was just terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And to this day, as I said, I watched the two scenes together, and it still kind of freaked me out. And do you remember, Rich, when we went to see that movie, the American version, and we came out? Do you remember when we got back to your house? It was all about unplugging the TV, turning it around and making it face the wall, so nothing could come out, and leave your shoes by the door, because you may need to run out very quickly if that don't work.
I'll tell you one thing you missed out, Jay. It not just her climbing out the TV, but it was the noise of the bones.
Yeah.
Oh man. But like I said, but to me, like I said, all those things are scary, but they're still supernatural based. And I tell you, one of the things that I always have in the back of my head. Now, people might say I'm being racialist. You know, that's a word I trademark that. You know, racialist and stuff like that. But as black people, we don't really effort with that stuff. We don't effort that stuff. So when I see someone like Samara, I'd be like, I wouldn't be in that situation in the first place. Yeah, hey, move into this house. The previous family were killed by the father who lost his mind, and he's now in a mental asylum. He said that he was possessed by a demon. You know, no, thank you. I'll live on the street. Yeah, so when I look at something like Samara or like Candyman, Candyman is simple. It's simple. Don't go to the mirror. Don't say his name. Simple as that. If you don't want to drink with your parents, don't drink from the carton. It's as simple as that. If you have an itch, scratch it. It's as simple as that. So to me, when those supernatural things, when they really do hit home, is when you look at you always look at to me, I always look at the circumstances of like, can I defeat it? That's the first thing I used to say to you, Jason. As the first thing I used to say to my brother. Like my brother would see a horror film, and I'd be like, hey, listen, could we defeat it? Could we be the Frog Brothers from the Lost Boys? Do we just need to get like a bottle of holy water, some salt, and a cross and a crossbow, and then we're good? And if he says things like, "No, man, you need to go to like the Vatican and go and get people to come and bless this stuff," then you know you're fucked. But like I said, I wouldn't be in those situations in the first place because Dwayne says in Scream 2, people like us, we don't survive long in situations like this.
Ain't that the truth, man? Jesus, we got to make mention of the classic trope of horror films where it's like, if there's a black man in it, you know he's gonna die, and he's probably gonna die first, and he's probably gonna die horribly. Like, it's just something that runs through every single horror film that a black male actor is in. Well, not every single one. I mean, that kind of changed a little bit. Over the years, and in more recent years it's changed. But certainly, if you're talking about kind of, particularly in the 90s, my goodness, like if you were a black man in the 90s in a horror film, boy, I felt sorry for you, man, because even from an actor's point of view, like that's a day's work you're getting, if at most. But yeah, man, it's crazy. You know what other scene that I remember as well that's just popped into my head now we've been talking about scenes? You guys remember Poltergeist, right?
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg movie.
I know what you're gonna say.
You know what scene I'm going to say, right? The dude with the mirror, yeah?
The steak out the fridge.
Oh my god! Do you know how much that bothered me? Like, that bothered me for so long. Right? For listeners who listen, right? There's a movie. I think it came out around the mid 80s. A Steven Spielberg movie called Poltergeist. They did a remake of it recently, which I don't think went down very well, from what I heard. But Poltergeist, the original, if you can get hold of that, that's definitely a movie that's worth checking out. Basically, it's about a house that has become possessed by a malevolent spirit. And the spirits are kind of channeling themselves through the young daughter of this family who's living there. So they call in, as you would do, they call in some paranormal experts to come in and investigate, and one of them is a male, a guy. And in one of the scenes, whilst they're working on trying to get rid of these poltergeists out of the house, the guy's like, okay, I'm hungry, I want to go and eat something. So he goes into the kitchen, and in the kitchen he can't really find anything, so he opens up the fridge and he sees a steak in there, pulls out the steak and he puts it on the counter, closes the fridge and then turns his back, and then out we get kind of like a POV shot like over his shoulder where you see the steak starts moving along the counter. So he turns around and then notices the steak is moving, so obviously he's horrified. He walks towards the steak and then it explodes and all these maggots come out of the steak, which is kind of gross in and of itself. Then you have this situation where once that happens, he runs over and throws up in the sink. And then whilst he's throwing up in the sink, he looks up at a mirror and realizes there's a mark on his face. And then as he goes to kind of investigate the mark, he presses it and realizes that his skin is coming off. Does that make sense? So he keeps pushing, and then next thing you know, it's like he's ripping chunks out of his own face. And there's a particular point where he like kind of pulls off so much flesh that like part of the bone and the jawbone and the skull are exposed and things like that. And it's horrible. The effect is so brilliantly done. It's just magnificent the way they've done it. But yeah, it was horrible. Do you remember it at all, Alvin?
No, I've not seen Poltergeist. I'm only familiar with it. I've not actually seen it.
Mm. Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out, man. Sorry, we've just lost Richard for a second.
Have we? I didn't even notice.
Yeah, he just vanished. So
He'll be back.
So I've just tried to bring him back. It's Halloween, folks. All kind of things can happen. Gremlins are out. Let's just hope Mike Myers ain't caught up with him, eh? Because we might not be hearing from him again. But yeah, Poltergeist is definitely a movie that I would recommend for people, because it was horrifying. Absolutely terrifying that was. I'm trying to think of other scenes. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. Was there anything else you could think of, Alvin?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, he's back.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Now.
I don't know, man. I don't know what happened there, but I'm scared.
Well, it's Halloween, isn't it? So yeah, it said you were there bad mouthing like spirits anyway. yeah. If I could beat it, then I feel all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you carry on. you carry on. But no, it was just we were talking about the steak scene from Poltergeist, and and how that climaxes because Alvin hadn't seen it before, so
Okay.
yeah, we just kind of going over that. But yeah, that's a scene that's always bothered me. That stayed with me for a long time. But yeah, Rich, you've seen it, right?
Yeah, of course. I'm surprised. I'm surprised you haven't seen it.
Nah, man, horror's not my thing, innit?
Yeah, no,
Horror movies anyway, like proper like your old school horror movies scare me more than the modern ones.
Oh yeah.
Like even though I know it's like all prosthesis and all that business, all prosthetics and it's all fake and it's all just like whatever. But yo, man, those things scare me. But they scare me back then and they scare me now as well. Like something unnerving because it's happening all in camera. Just like plays with your head.
Yeah, it's awful, man. It really is. But yeah, I was trying to think of another like kind of horror scene that
I've got one.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, the autopsy scene in The Thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. That scene literally like wow. I actually remember the first time I saw it. I was living in Battersea with my mum. And one of my best friend at that time called Takima, like she watched it as well at her place. She lived like 2 doors down from me, and it's just one of the scary. I mean, the thing about The Thing anyway is that it is kind of like there's no explanation as to where it's come from, so to speak. It'd be like a virus or I mean, there's nothing ever supernatural about it. But the whole setup of that film, of where it's like it could just be anybody in the camp, that is what makes it scary. And when it does reveal itself, that makes it even more scary. But then it just keeps on jumping from host to host. That's the scary thing. So as weak as this thing is, it needs us to survive, and that made me scared. But the scene itself is basically one of the guys has died and he's on the autopsy table, or one of the guys is having a heart attack and he's on the table, and so they get out the defibrillators to jump. That's it. Yeah, he's having a heart attack, so they to jumpstart his heart. And so they do the 1, 2 clear, boom, and they shock his heart, and then they do it again the second time, boom, and then I think on the third time, basically, his whole body just opens up into this mouth, and then basically bites the guy who's holding the defibrillator. It bites his arms off. Now take into account this film was made in like 1982, so it was the same thing. There was no CGI; it was all done with prosthetics. And when I tell you now, this film puts other films to shame. And then basically, what happened? They burn the body, and like I said, because it's a virus, it keeps on trying to escape. So basically, what happens is that they burn the body, and then the head detaches itself from the body and turns into a spider. And this is probably one of the best lines, and it was actually done again, I think, in Sliver, which was a James Gunn film, the guy who directed Guardians of the Galaxy. And I think it's basically if you were in a camp of people, aside from, let's say, maybe one person pissing themselves, one person standing in fear, one person running away, the guy just looks and goes, "You have got to be fucking kidding me." And I remember watching that film, and if I would have been allowed to swear in front of my mom, that's probably what I would have said. Like, that scene is fucking awesome, man. It's just awesome. So, as much as I don't like horror films, when it's done well, I think being scared is allowed. Like I hate shit horror films that scare me. But anybody who hasn't seen The Thing, definitely go and watch it. And that scene that I've just described is probably only one of is one of like many amazing scenes in that film. Is definitely a classic for me. And it's another film directed by John Carpenter, who actually directed Halloween as well. So yeah.
Okay, cool, man. By the way, you need to turn off your camera, bro.
Wow, lucky I'm not naked.
Because
some.
that would have been a real fright, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Okay, now?
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on, man. Let's move on. So this is one of the kind of mediums I struggled with really, and TV. Um, TV horror seems to be making like a real resurgence in the past couple of years. American Horror Story has been a really, really big success. I've noticed there's an Exorcist series that has come onto American television recently. I haven't watched it. I think it's out in the UK now. But obviously the success of The Walking Dead as well has been huge. And there's been various other kind of zombie-based TV shows that have come out too. Is there any kind of like horror-based TV shows that you guys can recommend to me? Because I ain't really got a clue, to be honest, as to what to watch in that genre. Rich, I know you started watching American Horror Story the most recent season, right? Season 6. Has that been good?
It's been really good. I mean, I've seen one or two of the seasons before, and they were okay. I mean, they weren't scary for me. But this season, it's told in almost like a Blair Witch type of way, but it's told from the point of view of a reality TV show. So, and it's quite an interesting take because you know, in between, like you never know when you're watching the show that's creating the reality TV show and when it's actually taking part, or when it's actually taking place. So it's a bit of a head F or head fuck. So I mean, I'm enjoying it. I'm gonna have to go back to episode 1. And watch it from the beginning, but it's a really interesting take on a TV show in general, considering that, you know, I'm not sure what the statistics are, but reality TV show is a big part of television now, which is I don't know, which makes me sick, so to speak. American Horror Story. If you want to go back, listen, man, certain episodes of the Twilight Zone, that shit will fuck with you, man. Like the music alone. Yeah, that the music alone would make me want to go to the toilet, but not allow me to go to the toilet. You know that thing where you're just like, yeah, they're just like, and you're just like, no, it's just something else. The Twilight Zone, I mean, every episode was a standalone episode, and that just used to mess with my head, man. Like, you know, I think as a kid, I think it's a bit too adventurous on some of the TV that I was allowed to watch, considering I had a TV in my room. I think certain episodes of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer were pretty good, man. Like horror wise. There's a particular episode called Hush.
I knew you were gonna say that one. I knew it.
Like that. I mean, not a lot of them have been scary, but that one was scary. Like I think I've even forgotten the name of the villains in the actual show, but Common Alvin, if you've seen an episode,
Of course they have, with the guys floating about and that with the suits on and the smiles. Gross, man. Nasty.
Yeah, like, you know, it was actually quite a really a really scary episode for a TV show that, even if it was horror based, was almost done not to scare you, but like just to entertain, if you get my meaning. That one could have just been a film by itself. So those 3 shows I could recommend to people if they haven't watched it. So Buffy, Twilight Zone, and American Horror Story, the latest series that's just started. Yeah.
Cool. Alvin, did you have anything?
You know what? Yeah, I kind of failed on this one because I was trying to think, and then the only things that could come up, I thought Walking Dead is an obvious one, but it's not really. It's got horror elements, but it's not like a lot of stuff that's like. There's a lot of shows that have horror elements, but aren't fucking scary. You know what I mean? Like I had on my list like Sleepy Hollow and True Blood. None of those scared me at any point whatsoever.
Yeah,
it's more of that kind of I can only call it weak fantasy horror, where the horror elements are there,
yeah,
and there is gore, but it's not scary. It's just, oh, here's a demon, this week's demon, take it out, it's dead now, end of the episode. So it's just kind of like, and True Blood, there was way too much comedy in it and drama for it to be for it to be scary. I mean, I think sometimes it tried, especially some of the vampire stuff, but then it just got into like weird stuff with vampires shagging and all that business, and it was like, oh well, this is never going to be scary. It had the potential to be, but just went next direction. So yeah, to be honest, I've failed in that one.
Yeah. I don't even think True Blood was really aiming to be scary. To be honest, I don't think that was necessarily the intentions of the people that wrote, because I did watch a little bit of True Blood, but yeah, I never really found that scary either. Oh well, we all failed at the TV one. Sorry, listeners. We don't really have anything for you on that one. But okay.
I came with 3 TV shows. I didn't feel shit.
Well, yeah, but you brought up Buffy from like how many years ago? I was talking about like more current things.
No, okay. No. I brought up Buffy, and I brought up the Twilight Zone, and I brought up American Horror Story.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah. All right, Richard. All right.
Now you're fucking patronizing me. Yes. Okay.
Well done. We'll put your pretty picture on the fridge, okay? Okay, man. Cool. Well, let's move on anyway. Let's move on, because now we can talk about some shit that I can really get my teeth into, and that's video games. Now, I don't know about you lot, but for me, video games is really where my scares have come from in recent years. I think, I've thought about it, and I think it's, for me personally, that what I enjoy about like horror-based video games is something that I've missed or I've not felt with a lot of the movies and the TV shows that are offered out, and that's the feeling that you are part of the story, that it is you who is in this story, that it's not necessarily just, you know, pixels of graphics on the screen, but you're actually part of it and you are controlling the actions of what goes on in front of you. And yeah, like horror-based video games, I absolutely adore. I really do. You know, I really, really love them. So let's start with you, Alvin. First memories of kind of horror-based games and anything that you can recommend to people that they would.
Yo, I'll tell this. Well, there was this one time I went around to my mate's house, innit, and like put in this game. It was called The Suffering. I don't know if any of you remember that game. But essentially, you're this dude in prison, and like, yo, weird stuff starts to happen. Like the lights go out and all this kind of business, and then like all the prisoners are like, everyone's dead essentially, pretty much. And then you're the main character. You kind of like meet these ghosts who like tell him some stuff and that, and they tell you to walk down this hallway. And you start walking down it, and at the end of the hallway, you see something like go across. Yo, I paused the game and said to my mate, yo. Nah, I'm not fucking playing this, man. I got a little bit beyond that, and it turns out that like you are that actual monster that was walking past you later on, turned into it, and all this kind of business. It was like a premonition thing. But that bit, I just remember that bit fucking just being like, nah, I don't want to play this, man. But recently, I actually downloaded some horror games. Yeah, you know the Dead Space series, Dead Space 1 and 2, and I played like the first 15 minutes of Dead Space, and it's like. It's kind of like a bit Event Horizon-y, but that game, they go in like straight away. There's like loads of dead bodies and shit, and like your first encounter with these like I think they're called necromorphs or something like that.
Yeah, they are.
It's fucking wild, scary. It's like because over the comms they're like, "Yo, run." You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, press this button to run. I'm not. You're fucking running. You can hear them behind you. You go into this fucking lift, right? You turn around, and just as it get to the lift, it closes, right? And you're safe in it. Nope. Fucking opens again, and then you've got to shoot, and then the doors close. And I started sweating, man. I was like, yo, this game, fuck me, I've got to play this during the day. I can't be playing this at night. I'll be sweating. But yeah, man, I can't wait to play the rest of it. But that was a few weeks ago as well, man. But yeah, Dead Space, fuck me, yeah.
Yeah, Dead Space is terrific. I mean, Dead Space 2 is the one that I really like, even though it's not really a better game. Like Dead Space 1 is I mean, any serious gamer will tell you Dead Space 1 is the much better game to play out of the two, really. But Dead Space 2 has like the best opening I can remember of a game.
Really?
That, yeah, in recent years. Oh my God, like I was doing lots of Richards like proop, proop, when that, because it starts with you as Isaac, the main character, and you kind of like see his face for the first time, because in the previous game you don't see his face at all. and he's talking to somebody. You know, it basically following on directly from the events of the first game. So he's talking to somebody at a space station who's like trying to explain to what happened and all of this. And literally mid conversation, the guy gets attacked by a necromorph. And when I say attacked, I mean the thing fucking like it sticks some kind of, I don't know what it is, appendage of his body, some kind of thing that looks like a dagger through his head and then he's like, and he's kind of all like struggling to breathe and stuff, and it rips him apart basically from the inside and then attacks you immediately. So you immediately have to try and defend yourself in this game and within the opening. And from there, it's just like, it's non-stop. And that game just absolutely like, it terrified me. It absolutely terrified me. Rich, anything that you've played recently that scared you?
Not recently. I actually did play the Dead Space game. That I played the trailer to the first one, and yeah, and I have to admit, I think I was actually playing that during the day, and it's just so well done, like really, really well done. So I definitely have to agree with you guys on that. I think the last the last horror game that I played properly and I sat down and I was like, okay, this is all right. Resident Evil 4. That game just does it for me, man. Like, I mean, I'm going back quite a few years, so you can penalize me like you tried to in the last one. But but Resident Evil 4. You start off in this village, and basically you're used to. What you're used to with the original Resident Evil games, that you usually end up in a town where there's, you're just surrounded by zombies. But you just end up in this normal village. It's like almost like a Romany village, and these people are just going about their business like normal and everything. And then it just kind of kicks off, and then basically you see these Romanies running towards you, and they're speaking their own language. And then it's the AI that happens in this game, because one will see you and call his friends, but he wouldn't say language. He'd be like, and he'll use his arm like, hey, come over here, and then you see like a bunch of them coming to chase after you. And the reason why that was scary, and the reason why it was somewhat a bit of a change to the other Resident Evil games where you were fighting or running away from zombies, is that, to me, is the same reason why Halloween is so scary for me. Is because these people have a face, so up until that point, as far as you're concerned, these are just crazy people, but it's not just but it's a whole village that are chasing you. And it's only later on down the line when I think you get about a quarter of the way in, which is still quite scary, because like you've got this whole village chasing you, and then you end up fighting just like a normal guy, and you shoot his head off, and this parasite comes out of his head, and literally you're just like, I was like the guy in the thing when I saw the thing come out of his head. I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me! Like, what is going on here? And that game just generally put the shits into me. Especially at one point where you kind of get the virus put into you as a character, and you need to go and get like a cure. So that's a scary game for me. Resident Evil 2, which was the first Resident Evil game that I played, because the first one was kind of banned when they used raw footage, I think at the beginning of the game. And there's a scene in that where basically you go into like a police station, and you go to like a two-way mirror, and one of the monsters called a licker busts through the mirror. And literally, and I kid you not, like, even when you know that it's going to happen, it still makes your heart jump. It still makes your heart jump out of your chest. And the reason why I've chosen Resident Evil 2 as well is because no single screen that you enter is the same. So it's almost filmed like a horror game, so like a horror film. So there might be, there's one bit where you go to a particular level, and you see yourself running down a corridor, but it's done from as if you're watching it through a CCTV TV. So when you fight these people in a corridor, and then you get to go through the door, the person who's watching the CCTV, you see them walk past the CCTV and then basically come to chase you. It's those type of scenes, like in that game, where I'm just like, it's a piece of work. It's a masterpiece. So they're not as up to date as let's say like Dead Space, but those games really work on a horror genre for me, and I consider them classics.
Resident Evil 2, is just brilliant. I mean, one of the things about Resident Evil 2 that makes it work so well is that the controls are so terrible.
Yeah, the tank controls, I fucking hate those tank controls.
Yeah, they're awful. Like, so and from what I understand, that was done deliberately to kind of make the game more panicky, because there's a I can't remember where this study was done now, but there was a study I read about where basically they studied kind of people and how they reacted in stressful situations, and when people were within a kind of comfort zone where they felt in control of things, people would feel fear but would still be able to function. But when you feel like you have very little control or no control at all, that's when the terror really kind of takes over you, and you panic and things like that. And apparently that's kind of the idea that they went with Resident Evil 2 was to take the control away from you as the player, so that you're deliberately panicked every time a crazy situation happens. Like, I remember when I first played Resident Evil 2, it was at my cousin's, and he had got like he's a rich kid, so he had like his own big screen TV in his bedroom, and he had like a stereo system where he had the TV hooked up to. So whenever he played his PS2 games, he had it, playing through this sound system. And then the particular like level I remember is when you remember the sewer level, Richard.
The alligator.
Yeah. Do you remember that, Alvin?
I didn't go that far.
There's a bit in the game where you're with not Jill. What's the female protagonist's name again in 2?
Claire?
Ada?
No.
Ada. I think it was Ada. Yeah, I think her name was Ada. And there's a bit where your character Leon, he walks. It's a cutscene, and he kind of walks through the sewers and kind of around this corner, and you see Ada just like shooting into the water, and you're thinking like, what the hell is she shooting at? Like, what's she doing? And then literally, like, this alligator just jumps out of the water and tries to bite you while you're there. And you're in control of the character at this point. So the game doesn't even tell you that the cutscene has ended. It literally just throws you into this thing. And, like, you then have to run away from this alligator and try and find a way to kill it whilst you're running down this corridor. And this alligator, Alvin, is about, like, it must be about 30 foot in length. 30 to 40 foot. And the thing is just huge, and like the music in the game is like dun 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 dun, like while you're trying to run. And I remember me and my cousin playing this game, and my cousin just screaming like, and trying to make it real loud. And I remember me going, just make it fucking run, just make it run, just make it run. And he's like, I'm trying. And his character was literally running and banging into every wall in the sewer, like running in some zigzag, like they were running in the straight line, because we were both just panicking. But that scene was just brilliant. That is an example of how to kind of do a jump scare in a game, and to do it properly. But a game I'm sure you must have played, Alvin, that mastered the jump scares for me was Five Nights at Freddy's. Did you play that?
No. I saw loads of videos.
You need to play it, dude.
I ain't bother playing it though.
You need to play it, man. You need to play it. Have you ever played it, Rich?
No. What game is this?
Basically, you know what it is? You know what you were talking about with Resident Evil 2 and the footage through the CCTV cameras almost? Well, Five Nights at Freddy's basically takes that to another level. So the whole game you play through POV. And basically you're somebody who's working on the night shift at this pizza restaurant. And your job is basically to monitor all of the CCTV cameras and to make sure that the doors, there's enough power left in the building to power like the lights and things like that. And there are these creepy characters that they're basically like the mascots for this pizzeria, but they're like teddy bears and stuff like that. And if you let the power run down too much on one screen, when you click on it again, like the fucking teddy bear is like right up in the camera, and it will make you, I'm telling you, anything you've eaten recently is coming straight out. It's coming straight out. That game is just brilliant. The way they've done that, the way they pull off that kind of POV experience is brilliant. I think there's like 4 or 5 different sequels to it now. There's been so many because it was so successful. In fact, you can get it on your smartphone now as well. So, like, listeners, you can download it. Yeah, you can get it in most app stores. So, Yeah, you
What's it
can
called?
actually download it. Five Nights at Freddy's.
Okay, I'm gonna peep that.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a play, man. That game takes jump scares to a whole new level. What else was there that I wanted to talk about? There was Alien Isolation. Did any of you play that?
No, I've wanted to get it for a while though.
That's really good.
Sorry, say that again, Rich.
No, I've heard that's really good.
It is. Another thing that you brought up was AI in Resident Evil. The AI in Alien Isolation is brilliant. I mean, basically, it's exactly like playing through the original Alien movie. So in essence, it's a complete survival horror. So literally, it's just you and the xenomorph, and you've got to survive whilst this xenomorph is stalking you. But what they've done is they've made the xenomorph clever. So you can't, in normal kind of horror games where you can go and like hide under a table and wait and something will pass.
Yeah.
No, that don't work with the xenomorph. The xenomorph will pull you out from under the table and mash up your face. It don't work. There's even there's a section that I remember playing vividly where in the Alien movie where Sigourney Weaver manages to get into this locker and put on the spacesuit in the original version.
Oh, yeah.
And she's doing it really quietly to try and not alert the attention of the xenomorph. Well, basically, you can play that scene. But hiding in the locker is not like hiding in and of itself, because the xenomorph can sense if you're in the locker if you move the controls too much. So if you move, you have to keep the controls dead still. And it uses the 6-axis on the PlayStation controller. So literally, you have to keep the control pad like on a table or something like that, because if you make any kind of movement, the xenomorph will pull you out of the locker, will stab you through it, drag you out, and then rip your head off. And it's so nerve-wracking, So yeah, Alien Isolation is definitely one that I would recommend to you folks. So if you're listening, check that one out, man, because that one is crazy. Did either of you play that horror movie game, Until Dawn, I think it was called? Or something?
No, that was on the PS3, right?
Is that PS3 or PS4? I can't remember.
PS4, sorry, yeah.
Right.
All the actors in that.
Yeah.
And it had the butterfly effect thing where you select different outcomes. No, I didn't play it.
Yeah, no, I haven't played it either, but it is something that's on my list, so I am going to get to that. But that's supposed to be really good as well because of, as you said, Alvin, it's every action you take in the game is supposed to affect the way that the story pans out, and you basically decide who lives and who dies, and each of those decisions that you make on who lives and who dies will affect how the game plays out for you. You can either make the game easier or harder based on what you do, really. So that's a kind of interesting concept, and I like that. So yeah, that's something definitely that I'll check out. But I've heard nothing but good things about it, so yeah, it should be a good look. Also, Alan Wake. Did you play Alan Wake?
Oh wow!
I've got it.
It back.
I haven't played it.
Okay. Did you play it, Rich?
Yeah, I remember playing it years. This is quite from some years old, right? Alan Wake.
Alan Wake's it's like quite old.
2010, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, 2010.
Right. He did it. Same guys who did Max Payne.
Yeah.
It's Wake the one where it because I remember playing Alan Wake. I remember another game at that point. I'm not sure if the same one, if it's a different one, but it was starring. You were playing Olivier Martinez. You know that the actor Olivier Martinez.
No, I don't think that's him in Alan Wake.
Yeah. He's in SWAT. Okay, no, I remember playing Alan Wake, but there was another game. Which was similar to Alan Wake, and but you were playing Olivia Martinez playing a character. But sorry, carry on. Yeah, but I do remember Alan Wake, but carry on.
Yeah, no, it was just creepy in terms of the thing. I mean, it didn't have as many jump scares for me, but it was quite creepy because it relied on you having the only way to kill the enemies was to use light, basically. But the whole game was in darkness. So yeah, that was kind of. That was kind of a creepy one. It was a bit like Alone in the Dark, actually. I don't know if you played that one as well.
Yeah,
similar kind of thing. Also, did you either of you play Fear? FEAR?
Yep, I had.
Was that like a shooter though?
Yeah, that was a shooter. Yeah, it was a first-person shooter. But yeah, that was a classic. Silent Hill. I only played the first one. Did you guys ever play Silent Hill?
I used to watch people. I used to watch people play
I was just about to say the exact same thing.
But I mean, I think Silent Hill. You know what? Silent Hill's up there with like with like Dead Space, where it's not only a horror, but it just fucks with your mind, man. Like yeah, I remember going on Wiki one day and looking at some of the, you know, doing a bit of research on it, and then you find out that some of the characters are like, you know, repressed fears that you know that the character you're playing has, and you know, there's like people being sodomized, and like it's a real head fuck, man. But yeah, like I said, I just used to watch people play it. Like, to me, I just couldn't get into it for some unknown reason.
Yeah, that was a wild one, man. That was a very, very wild one. Trying to think of anything else that I might have missed from video games. Oh yeah, Condemned 2. I got that when sorry.
Is that in prison?
No, Condemned 2 is you're a disgraced FBI agent. Because in the first one you had to like try and catch like a serial killer, and then in the second one like the serial killers got out, and but it's a lot more. The second one is a lot more like psychological horror, and there's one particular bit as well where you're investigating this building with these mannequins in it, and every time you turn around, like the mannequins have moved position and have got closer to you. And they don't actually do anything to you in the game, like they don't kill you or anything like that. But it just fucks with your head because like you're literally like everywhere you go. I remember vividly when I was walking down this corridor holding the flashlight, and then like the you know the sound effects was doing this kind of sound like something's moving behind you, and then I would turn around, show my flashlight, and then these bloody mannequins were behind me, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, where did you come from, you know? So yeah, that I remember that from Condemned. I think it was called Condemned Criminal Origin or something like that. Condemned Criminal Origins, I think it is. Yeah. So yeah, that's a good one to check out as well if you haven't played that. And also, of course, Slender Man.
Yeah, forget Slender Man, man. I've seen people play that as well, and no, there's no
yeah, Slender Man for me. Like, I'm sorry, but I can't do it. I can't do it. I've seen people's reaction videos on YouTube, and that's enough for me. I can't, like, especially at this age, man. Like, I've got to look after my heart, man. I can't be subjecting myself to that kind of shit. Like, because watching people playing Slender Man was stressful to me. Did you play it, Richard?
Same thing. I watch people play it, and that.
Yeah, no, that was too much for me, man. Way too much. Okay, man. Well, we've given a lot of recommendations for games there, so I think we can put the games to bed. And we've only got about 5 minutes left. So yeah, we might as well try and start wrapping this thing up. We didn't really get to go through comics, but then I think we all kind of agreed that comics is it's a difficult thing to recommend, like kind of horror-based comics, because I guess horror is a very subjective thing anyway, and different people are scared of different things. But with comic books, it's hard to find stuff that's really kind of creepy that is out, you know, in the mainstream, so to speak. But guys, was there anything at all that you could come up with for comics?
Now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, like, you'd have to probably go back to like old school 70s and 80s stuff. I mean, it's stuff that I never read. But what were they called? Were they called like EEC horror comics or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
I think that they were one of the reasons that, you know, when they brought in the Comics Code Authority, you know, to about certain things that were allowed to be portrayed in comic books. So no, but I think they had things like beheading. Like, I mean, like, I remember seeing the documentary, and you'd look, you know, they have a front cover of the comic book, and it's like a woman holding her husband's head by the hair after it's been decapitated. So I mean, I'm not sure if those are any good, but I mean, you know, any viewers out there or listeners, sorry, like, feel free to peep those and, you know, let us know what you think. Would you consider it horror? Is it worth it? Is it tame compared to like stuff that they've seen, you know, that you can get to now? I don't know, but that's the only thing that I could come up with when I thought, you know, really hard about it.
Yeah, for sure. If you have any kind of like really good horror comic recommendations, then yeah, definitely do let us know, man. Because yeah, that'd be interesting to read a few and see if they they give me the willies. Alf, anything?
The only thing I could think of was Gotham by Midnight, but again, it wasn't particularly scary. It was just more moody with again horror elements, but it wasn't actually scary.
Mm, mm. Cool, fair enough. All right, man. Well, I think we've kind of covered all of our bases with this one. So hopefully you guys, as I said, listening, have got plenty to chew on. Definitely in terms of films, and definitely in terms of video games as well. But yeah, man, if you can recommend any things for us to check out, then by all means, please do. You can find us on social media. I'm at Woolong Talks on Twitter. And you can also hit us up as well on our website, which is woolongtalks.com. Yeah, any recommendations that you have, man, as I said, just send them our way, because we definitely will take a look at them. I can't promise you that we'll watch them all and read them all, especially if they are actually scary, because like I said, man, I'm of age now and I need to look after my heart. So yeah, I won't be taking too many risks. But if there's anything that you can recommend, I definitely want to hear it. Alvin, man, where can people find you out on social media?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and what's the other one? Instagram at BigA85GL.
Cool. Rich, where can people find you if they want to talk to you?
Instagram at Woolong Talks, Instagram under Rich Reviews, and obviously you've got www.woolongtalks.com as well, where you'll find me and Jay, and Twitter under Rich Reviews as well.
Cool. Oh, and before I go as well, I just want to give a shout out and a little bit of a plug for a podcast that I've been listening to recently, which has been really, really good actually. It's called The Broken Elevator, and it's a podcast hosted by three London-based guys who do pitching ideas. So basically, the idea is they come up with different concepts and different things, and then they pitch each other movie ideas based out of the things that they're pitching. It's a lot of fun. They actually recently, in the most recent podcast, did a sequel for Attack the Block that would feature everything from gentrification to time travel to, wow, there were just so many concepts that were in there, and it was really, really fun to listen to. They also came up with a term that I'm determined to get into the Urban Dictionary, which is called roadsploitation. That basically is a mixture of roadman movies and exploitation movies. So, like, I think that's the perfect phrase to get into the Urban Dictionary. So, damn it, I'm gonna make it happen. So, we gotta do this, man, because roadsploitation needs to get the respect it deserves. So, let's put it out there, people. All right, man. Well, that's it. That's gonna do it for us. Thanks so much for listening. If you're listening along with us, we hope you've enjoyed it. And we'll be back again very, very soon. If you're going to MCM Comic Con this weekend, we're all going to be there. So come and say hi to us, man, because, you know, we don't buy it unless you ask us to. So it's all good. But we'll be there, especially on the Saturday. The three of us will be there. We'll definitely be putting up some pictures on our Instagram as well. So check that out. And yeah, come say hi, man. We love chatting. So, you know, feel free to come and say hello. We'll take a pic with you, and we'll make you famous, baby. All right, that'll do it for us, man. Say goodnight, Alvin.
Night, peeps.
And Richie, say goodnight.
Sayonara.
Cool. And people, it's goodnight from me. Sleep tight. Don't worry, Freddy's not going to come for you, man. Just like do what my Auntie Ina would say and throw some salt outside your door, and the demons can't come in. All right? All right, people. We're out of here. Take care. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.